What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Today I'm going to be showing off what is probably the most hyped new deck out of our upcoming set, Darkness Ablaze, Eternatus VMAX. Eternatus VMAX is a powerhouse attacker with 340 HP and its Dread End attack capable of swinging for 270 damage. Even more with the addition of Galarian Zigzagoon in the deck. We've been testing this list for weeks now on stream, and I'm really excited about where our list has ended up. Let's go ahead and take a look at what is sure to be one of the most popular decks in our upcoming team up through Darkness Ablaze standard format. First up, we're going to be taking a look at the Pokemon that make up this powerful new Eternatus VMAX deck. As you can see, the main attacker in the deck is Eternatus VMAX with 340 HP and its awesome ability Infinity Zone, which allows you to have up to 8 Darkness type Pokemon on your bench so long as all of your Pokemon in play are Darkness type. This combos perfectly with its Dread End attack. For 1 Darkness energy and 1 colorless, it deals 30 damage times the number of your Darkness Pokemon in play, which includes the active position. So 30 damage times a potential 9 Darkness Pokemon in play can deal 270 damage. This is just a very straightforward, powerful Pokemon. It's weak to Fighting type, which is not super strong in the Pokemon trading card game right now, and it does have a retreat cost of 3, but once this thing gets powered up and in the active position, you're just going to want to keep swinging with Dread End until it eventually goes down, which could take a while because it's got 340 HP. To power up your Eternatus VMAX, you've got Eternatus V with the very cool Power Excel attack, which allows you to attach a Darkness energy from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon, and it deals 30 damage while you're attacking. So that's a really cool setup attack. On the first turn of the game, you're going to be looking for your Eternatus V, attach maybe a Capture energy to it to get another Eternatus V onto your bench, and then use that Power Excel attack to get a Darkness energy from your hand to your benched Eternatus V. With Eternatus V, I don't actually think you need any other form of energy acceleration in the deck. Power Excel is quite simply enough. You only need 2 energy on your Eternatus VMAX in order to attack. So meaning on the second turn of the game, you could start swinging for 270 damage, more with Galarian Zigzagoon, which is fast enough. I mean, really, you're an evolved deck. The second turn of the game is as fast as you could possibly go. So with Power Excel, you could potentially get an Eternatus VMAX powered up on the second turn of the game with an additional energy on your bench, which is more than enough tempo in order to carry you through the rest of the game, especially since your Pokemon's got 340 HP and is not really being one-hit KO'd by anything. Dynamax Cannon is kind of cool for Darkness and 3 colorless. It does 120 damage, plus if your opponent's defending Pokemon is a VMAX, it does 120 more. Can't say that I've ever used Dynamax Cannon, but the attack is there in case you ever find yourself with 4 energy on your Eternatus V, which you probably won't. It's got a very nice, respectable 220 HP, which is an awesome HP total for the basic V Pokemon. Eternatus are looking like they're just going to be really big Pokemon. 220 HP basic, which evolves into a 340 HP VMAX, is absolutely insane. I cannot state enough how amazing this Power Excel attack is and how wonderfully it combos with Capture energy turn 1 every single game. You just want to get the Capture energy onto Eternatus V and Power Excel to accelerate an energy onto a benched Eternatus V. One of the coolest things about this deck is that we get to run 4 copies of Crobat V, and we have the bench space to accommodate for them, which most decks don't, since we can have up to 8 Darkness Pokemon in play with Eternatus VMAX. The Night Asset ability allows you to fill your hand to 6 cards when you play the Crobat V from your hand to your bench, which just helps you to churn through the deck, find more basic Pokemon to put into play to power up Eternatus VMAX's Dread End attack. It also helps you to draw into useful supporter cards such as Boss's Orders so that you can target down whoever you want on your opponent's side of the field with Eternatus VMAX. Crobat V is definitely one of the best new cards out of Darkness Ablaze, comparable to Dedenne GX. Unfortunately, we can't play Dedenne GX in this deck because we can only have Darkness Pokemon in play with the Infinity Zone ability. If we want to have up to 8 Pokemon on our bench, which we absolutely do, but Crobat V thankfully fills that draw support void perfectly in this deck. So we run 4 copies of it, not only to boost our damage output, but to help us draw cards. We also run 4 copies of Galarian Zigzagoon for its Headbutt Tantrum ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may put 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, Eternatus VMAX's damage output caps at 270 by itself, but Galarian Zigzagoon can help you to hit hit some really relevant numbers, especially when comboed with Scoop Up Net, which we run 4 of in this list. Headbutt Tantrum can bring Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia's 280 HP into one-hit KO round 4 Eternatus VMAX. Also, all VMAX Pokemon that have 320 HP are only 5 Headbutt Tantrums away from a one-hit KO with Eternatus VMAX. So Galarian Zigzagoon with Scoop Up Net can help you to hit some crazy one-hit KO numbers even on opposing VMAX, which you would not be able to hit otherwise without Galarian Zigzagoon. It also helps to boost your Dread End damage output by just being a Darkness Pokemon on your bench. So for Galarian Zigzagoon with the 4 Scoop Up Nets is absolutely amazing. I've tried various counts of Galarian Zigzagoon, maybe just a couple, and then playing some other utility Pokemon in the deck, but the best list that we've stumbled upon here while streaming has definitely been the 4 Galarian Zigzagoon build with the 4 Scoop Up Nets. To round out the rest of our Pokemon, we run 2 copies of the Evil Admonition Hoopa, and I like this Hoopa more than the one that switches and does 90 from the Darkness Ablaze set. This Hoopa, I think, is better in the mirror match if you just look at how many Pokemon in our deck have abilities. All 4 Eternatus VMAX have abilities, all 4 Crobat V have abilities, and all 4 of our Galarian Zigzagoons have abilities. So it's not uncommon for this Hoopa to be hitting over 100 damage in the mirror, which is very good. Also, I really love its colorless energy requirement. Since we do run 4 copies of Capture Energy in this deck, turn 1, this Hoopa is very live. Even if you start it, you don't have to switch. You start it perfect. You can go Capture Energy turn 1. Evil Admonition. Usually you're going to be very close to knocking out Jirachis, if not KOing Jirachis outright. And then you can finish off the rest of the damage with Galarian Zigzagoon on an active Jirachi. If your opponent's got 2 Jirachis in play, which is very common early on when you're playing against decks that run Jirachi, you can Evil Admonition for base 50, couple of Galarian Zigzagoons, and that is a knockout on Jirachi. And I love that this thing can just keep the pressure on. You don't have to switch it in and out of the active position against decks that have low HP Pokemon like Jirachi. You're just swinging with Evil Admonition turn after turn while you're powering up an Eternatus VMAX on the bench. And I think that this card, like I said, is very good in the mirror. It also is excellent against Decidueye decks, Altaria decks, decks that block damage from Pokemon V and Pokemon VMAX. You're going to want to make sure that you have a couple of non-V Pokemon in your deck. And Hoopa not only helps to boost your damage output with Dread End by just being another basic Pokemon you can have on the bench, it just has a lot of utility in the mirror match by softening up an Eternatus VMAX perfectly and setting it up for a big 2-hit KO with Dread End later on in the match. As you can see by taking a look at the supporter lineup here, this deck list is extremely streamlined and consistent. It does what it needs to do almost every single game, which is exactly what you want from a powerful new deck like this Eternatus VMAX deck. We play 4 copies of Professor's Research, which allows you to discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It's the most powerful draw supporter we have available to us in the game right now, so running 4 copies of it is an absolute must. We also play 4 copies of Marnie. There's no reset stamp in this deck, but because of the fact that we play 4 Crobat V, we have tons of draw power in this deck, so we can actually afford to lean on Marnie as a hand refreshing card in this deck. It's also a consistent hand disruption card. Limiting your opponent to just a 4-card hand is very powerful when you're swinging in with Eternatus VMAX for 270 damage turn after turn. We also play 3 copies of Boss's Orders in the deck, which is very good because we're going to be using Crobat V to churn through our deck, and finding Boss's Orders early is usually very good since you're going to be able to pick off your opponent's Dedenne GX, Crobat Vs, and the like with Boss's Orders early on, usually while you're building up to that massive 270 damage swing with your Dread End attack. Usually on the second turn of the game, you're hitting for more like 150 to 180, maybe just over 200 damage. Boss's Orders early is phenomenal in this deck. We also run a copy of Great Catcher, which we're going to show off later. You could run 4 copies of Boss's Orders, but I think 3 in a Great Catcher is optimal in this deck since you're going to be able to draw into the Great Catcher off of one of your many draw supporters and then target down the likes of Dedenne GX with it. And then we also have a copy of Mallow Lana, which I think is still just a very powerful card in this deck. Not only does it allow you to switch one of your hefty 3 energy retreat cost Eternatus V out of the active active position if you need to. It can also allow you to heal 120 damage from it if you need to. And like I said, in the mirror match, you could be softening up Eternatus VMAXs with not only Galarian Zigzagoon, but also Hoopas and the like. So Mallow and Lana could be very good, not only in the Eternatus VMAX mirror to glance off one of those hits, preserve your energy, and go in with somebody else, but it also glances off hits from the likes of Volcanion if you're playing against the Sentiscorch VMAX deck. Anything that hits you for about 150 damage or less, Mallow and Lana is going to nearly completely heal and swing the tides of the game. And since we are a deck that just manually attaches our energy every turn, Mallow and Lana can definitely help you to keep that momentum going and turn the tides of any match where you're able to pull it off. So I really like the Mallow and Lana here. It's also really good against Vikavolt decks. If you happen to get a heavy retreat Pokemon caught in the active position, Mallow and Lana can bail you out of item lock as well, which I really love in this deck. Since we're not playing any of the new special darkness energy, which I'm going to get to later, Mallow and Lana I think is a must-have in the deck. And one of the most notable things about the supporter lineup is you can see that I'm not playing any of the new supporters, Rose or Piers, and I don't think that they're that good in this deck. Rose can accelerate 2 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your VMAXs at the cost of having to discard your hand. But then you could play the new Rose Tower Stadium card in order to refill your hand to 3 after you do it, but there's Chaotic Swell in the format, which can completely stop that strategy from working. Yes, you could play Dangerous Drill, get rid of this. I mean, there's like this back and forth that you could play, but the fact of the matter is Rose is just this combo card that you need to pull off. It can get you energy in a pinch, but you don't really need the energy if you just manually attach every turn and swing for a ton of damage on the second turn of the game with Eternatus VMAX. And then you could also play red and blue in this deck with Weavile GX. I've tried that. It's not as consistent. It's just manually attaching every turn. And then Piers, I don't really like as much as just consistently drawing cards or denying your opponent a hand with Marnie. I would almost 10 times out of 10 rather Professor's Research to discard my hand, draw 7 cards, see more Pokemon, get more energy, so on and so forth, get better supporters for the next turn, or play Marnie to reset my opponent's hand to 4 cards and then come swinging in with Eternatus VMAX every single turn. 4 Marnie in a deck is extremely disruptive. It is very hard to play the game when your opponent is Marnieing you every single turn, and I think no other deck in format is better at Marnieing your opponent every single turn than this deck, which also runs 4 Crobat V and has bench space for them. So I think that this is the ideal supporter lineup for Eternatus VMAX. I'm really happy with the supporter counts we got in this deck right now. Checking out the items here, you can see we've got more of that streamlined consistency I've been talking about this entire video. We run 4 copies of Quick Ball, the best search card in standard format right now from Sword and Shield. Allows you to discard a card from your hand in order to search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it into your hand. Great for grabbing Crobat V out of the deck for its Night Asset ability. Also great for searching out any of your other basic Pokemon to power up Eternatus VMAX's Dread and Attack. If you could run 8 Quick Ball, we would, but we can only run 4. So we run 4 because we can't run more than 4. We really wish we had Ultra Ball in the format, but we don't. So we got to run cards like Great Ball and Pokemon Communication, which both kind of do their job. I've tried 4 Pokemon Communication and I've tried 4 Great Ball. Neither of those seem quite right. I like them both better than Evolution Incense because they can help you get basic Pokemon early on, especially on the first turn of the game going first when you can't play draw supporters. It is essential that you get cards like your Eternatus V into play. So you want every single search card to have the option to potentially get you an Eternatus V or a Crobat to help you with those early turns where you can't play a supporter the first turn of the game going first. Great Ball is good because it can get you any Pokemon and you don't have to trade a Pokemon out of your hand to get it. So I like Great Ball for that. We run 2 copies of it. Just search the top 7 cards of your deck for a Pokemon, put it into your hand. And then Pokemon Communication is cool because in a pinch it can get you any Pokemon you want out of your deck, be it the Hoopa, maybe for a Decidueye or something like that, or if you really need to grab that Eternatus VMAX on the second turn of the game, Pokemon Communication is here for you, but you got to sacrifice another card from your hand, another Pokemon from your hand, and put it back into the deck. So I really like Pokemon Communication as a 2-of in the deck because you're not always going to want to throw cards back into the deck. Usually you want to put them down onto the bench in order to power up Eternatus VMAX's attack, but sometimes Pokemon Communication is very good because sometimes maybe you're about to research and you have an Eternatus VMAX in your hand and you don't want to discard it, you can throw it back into the deck with Pokemon Communication. Both Great Ball and Pokecom have got their upsides. We also run 2 copies copies of Air Balloon and 2 copies of Switch. Air Balloon is great because it gets every one of your basics free retreat. Every one of your basic Pokemon. Eternatus VMAX, yes, has a retreat cost of 3, so Air Balloon is going to make it a retreat cost of 1, which is still better than 3. Air Balloon helps you get your Crobats out of the active position if you happen to start one. It can help you get your Hoopas out of the active position if you happen to start one, and it can help you get into Eternatus V turn 1 for that Power Excel attack, which I was talking about earlier in the video. So Air Balloon's great because you can play it before a card like Marnie and then draw into Eternatus with an energy and then use Power Excel and so on and so forth. So Air Balloon's really incredible for pulling off turn 1 attacks, which you want to do with this deck, whether it be with Hoopa or Power Excel, so on and so forth. Air Balloon helps you to do that because you can play the card before your supporter for turn and then find the other pieces of the combo that you need in order to turn 1 attack. Switch can help you get the turn 1 attack, but unlike Air Balloon, doesn't stay in play, right? It's just an instant switch effect. So Switch is very good because you can use it to pivot in and out of status conditions in the middle of the game, which is very good. You definitely want to run some copies of Switch. You just need to, because if you happen to get paralyzed or something like that, confused, you're going to want the option to switch. Mallow Lana is good, but a couple of other Switch in the deck really help you to kind of smooth out your gameplay, since all you want is to just use your Dread End attack turn after turn with no hiccups, no speed bumps, nothing. So Switch really helps you to do just that. Scoop Up Net is amazing in this deck because it allows you to reuse your Galarian Zigzagoon with the Headbutt Tantrum ability, and like I said, fix some math on Pokemon like Jirachi or other opposing VMAXs or Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia with that Headbutt Tantrum ability. There are a ton of applications for Scoop Up Net, and it helps you to get your Galarian Zigzagoon out of the active position turn 1 so you can attack with Eternatus V's Power Excel attack. So 4 Scoop Up Net, 2 Switch, 2 Air Balloon really means that you're going to be pulling off that turn 1 attack very often with this list. We run 1 copy of Great Catcher because it's great, just to because you can just play your draw supporter, get into the Great Catcher, especially early on while you're still setting up. You can just bring up the Dene GXs and punish your opponent for playing that card, which is in a ton of decks. And then we run just 1 Stadium Black Market Prism Star because it's busted if you get it to stick, and it doesn't always stick. We only play 1 of them in the deck, only 1 Stadium card. Truth be told, you don't really need a Stadium card in the deck, but I like having 1 Stadium as just a counter to other players' stadiums in case you need to get rid of some annoying stadium that your opponent has in play. Black Market Prism Star can be that counter stadium for you. Also, it can create these alternative win conditions that you just might not have available to you otherwise, since we are a deck that can Marnie our opponent almost every single turn because we play 4 copies of Marnie. You could stick your opponent with Black Market Prism Star, Marnie them to 4 cards, and maybe create a win condition that you just quite simply wouldn't have otherwise. Instead of Black Market Prism Star, you could run Chaotic Swell, would be totally fine. You know, Viridian Forest would be fine as well, but I like Black Market because it allows you to throw that Hail Mary pass at the end if you want to, maybe get it to stick and deny your opponent a prize card in the process. To wrap things up, we run 4 copies of Capture Energy and 8 copies of Darkness Energy. Capture Energy, I cannot state enough how good this card is in the deck. All you want to do is get your basic Pokemon from the deck into play. And since Eternatus VMAX's attack cost is colorless dark and Eternatus V's Power Excel attack cost is colorless, Capture Energy just fits perfectly in the deck. Even the Hoopa Evil Admonition costs just a colorless. So you could very easily run 4 copies of Capture Energy in this deck and just not get punished, since you're going to very often use Capture Energy to get basic Pokemon out of the deck. It's the closest thing to running 8 copies of Quick Ball that you can actually get. So I love Capture Energy. Not only does it help set up the turn 1 Power Excel, it just helps with your late game consistency as well by digging those basic Pokemon out of the deck to help you hit those big numbers with Eternatus VMAX. But with our 4 copies of Capture Energy, we also have to run a healthy count of Darkness Energy. And the reason we run 8 copies of Darkness Energy is because we want that consistent Power Excel. 30 damage with the Eternatus V. If we have a Darkness Energy in our hand, we can attach it to one of our bench Pokemon. That is the energy acceleration strategy of this deck. So we have to run a healthy amount of Darkness Energy to make sure that we actually have Darkness Energy in our hand when the time comes to use Power Excel. You also really want to hit your turn 1 energy drop. A lot of times, like I said, this deck is going to be choosing to go first. getting a turn 1 energy drop on an Eternatus V is very good. You want to get that almost every single game. Running 12 copies of energy gives you a very good chance of getting that turn 1 energy drop every game. So I like the energy count here in the deck. Usually you're going to find yourself with a good amount of energy late in the game, but that's good since it also gives you some protection against crushing hammers and so on and so forth. And especially against decks like Vikavolt, you're going to be hitting those energy drops every turn, making sure that you don't run out of resources, since we don't actually play any energy recovery in the deck, and I don't necessarily think that you need to. Maybe one copy of Ordinary Rod you could play instead of a Darkness Energy, right? It could give you some more flexibility in dealing with Belelba and Bryson Man, but like I said, getting that early energy drop with Power Excel is just so good that I really like running 8 copies of energy, though I could see maybe pinching to 7 as the format develops more and more. But the 4 capture energy, I'm very firm on. I think 4 capture energy is very, very busted with this Eternatus VMAX deck. And that's it for the Eternatus VMAX video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday. If you got extra cards lying around the house, bulk, singles, you name it, we are buying it here at Full Grip Games. We're always buying cards. So if you got extra cards, you want to get some cash, make sure to check out Full Grip Games buy list. I'll drop the link in the description below. Supporting the shop at Full Grip Games directly supports the content we create here on Tricky Jim. And with that, I'm out. Y'all take it easy and have a great day. Peace.